Hey people, welcome to the Run Testers, and today we're talking about old shoes. Now every year the big brands release their upgraded next generation shoes. Every year they tell us that they've made them better with fancy new tech, tweaked uppers, new midsoles, plus plenty of new marketing blurb to go with it. But here's the thing, these new shoes don't always improve on what we already had, or sometimes we just really like the way that a shoe was in its older generation and we wish that it now didn't have fatter tongues or change stack height or whatever they've tweaked. So in this video, the Run Testers have each picked a couple of shoes from past generations, previous gen shoes, that they think had something the new shoes don't. We're not necessarily saying the old shoe is better, but it might ride a different way, have a different fit on the foot. It just feels slightly different. Either way, these are shoes we'd still recommend. And now, if you're lucky, you can get them at knockdown prices too. So step this way for our oldies but goodies pick of the past gen shoes that we still love.
I think a few of us will probably pick this, is the Vaporfly Next Percent 2. I much prefer this shoe over the 3. I've done a lot more miles. I've run marathons in this shoe. And I much prefer the feel of it underfoot than I do with the 3. They've changed quite a bit with the 3, and I just don't think it feels as quick. I have real memories of running downhill from the London Marathon start in Greenwich wearing this shoe and just feeling like I was flying. And that's what you want from a super shoe. And you could definitely get this for a lot cheaper, and I just prefer the underfoot feel. I feel like it's got a more aggressive toe off running in this shoe. The 3 is definitely a lot more stable, but I think if you want to feel like you're flying on a race day, I would go for the 2 over the 3, and I think you'll save money by buying the 2. They fit really well. They've got very similar uppers, but Nike have slightly tweaked the underfoot experience. You can watch our Vaporfly 3 review to find out a lot more. But as a kind of old school pick, I would go for this one, definitely over the 3.
I'm with Jane on this one. I love the Vaporfly Next Percent 2 for chasing fast times over pretty much every distance. And even though when the Vaporflies first came out, these were the wild, massive stacked super shoes, things have now gotten bigger and even wilder since then. And now by comparison, the Next Percent 2, I think look really conservative and feel a whole lot more direct than some of those other super shoes. There's much more ground feel and a directness and a stiffness and a really stripped back raciness to these shoes that I think has changed with the Next Percent 3 that I've got here. The Next Percent 3 now has more ZoomX foam underfoot, and that foam has been tweaked to be softer. It's definitely much more accommodating and protective if you're running with bad form, and that's great when things go wrong at the arse end of a marathon, but I think that it changes the ride and makes it a bit duller. It's taken away what made the Nike Vaporfly Next Percent 2 different from the Alphas and the Sock and the Elites of this world and those other carbon racers. Now arguably the HOKA Rocket X 2 has sort of jumped into that space, but if I was racing a half marathon, a marathon, or even a 10k, and I had to choose between the Vaporfly 2 and the Vaporfly 3, it'd be the 2 all day long. Yes, you have to be moving in your best form to really get the most out of this shoe, but I like that. It keeps you honest.
So an older generation shoe that I really love is the ASICS Magic Speed 2, which flew under the radar in a lot of places, but I really enjoyed using it. It basically went into my rotation as my daily trainer of choice because it has got a really versatile ride with plenty of speed there thanks to the plate in the midsole, but a really comfy ride as well if you're cruising through easy miles. It almost replaced the Endorphin Speed for me just because the Endorphin Speed 3 didn't fit me that well, and this has a much tighter fit, a great fit in general. It's a bit narrower and has a nice lockdown but comfortable fit for me. I still really like it just as a general cruiser. Like I say, you've got the TPU/carbon plate mix in there, ASICS' FF Blast foam on top and some flight foam underneath. It's not the most wow midsole in terms of the bounce, but it's got a really good rocker. The midsole does have a bit of bounce. It works, like I say, for a nice variety of paces, and it's a really comfortable shoe that I did enjoy just using for a bit of everything really. Now the Magic Speed 3 obviously came out, and I don't think it's fair to say the older one is a better shoe, but it's quite a different shoe. I found that the Magic Speed 3 was bit more race focused, like it was a lot lighter, it felt a lot more aggressive, a bit more stripped back. You had a full carbon plate in the midsole, and while that's great for doing fast reps and races and stuff like that, or using it almost as an alternative carbon shoe, I find that the Magic Speed 2 is more relaxed shoe and one that I find a bit more capable across the easier ranges of paces, and that just makes it a bit more of a versatile shoe, I think. So while the Magic Speed 3 is a quicker shoe and probably more exciting shoe and still a decent generalist, I'd say the Magic Speed 2 is more of a generalist, and that's what I want really from a rotated training shoe like this. I have got full carbon shoes to go out and go really quick in, so the Magic Speed 2's versatility really appeals to me, and that's why I still think it's worth picking up. It is still pretty widely available and easy to get in sales now, down towards kind of around the £100 mark, £110 mark, and in which case you're getting a really good all-round shoe.
I can't make a video without talking about this shoe. This isn't my OG Invincible. This is my boyfriend's, because you can't be around me for more than about half an hour without me talking about this running shoe. But the Nike Invincible, I love this shoe. We all know I love this shoe, but I really think the third and the latest version of this shoe is probably my least favourite. So I think if you want a really, really plush, really, really comfortable, really, really cushioned running shoe, you don't want to spend a fortune, go for the original Invincible, the OG, or go for the Invincible 2, because they both feel, the original and the 2 feel pretty much identical. I'm not really sure what they even changed now, thinking back. Whereas the 3 does feel a bit different. It's got a different upper, feels a bit sleeker. But if you want a really soft cushioned shoe, this is a shoe to buy. And I have multiple pairs, some in the office, some at my parents' house, in different versions, and I will keep running in the older versions. And if anything, putting the older versions on feels more like kind of going back to an old friend. So I would recommend that as my other old school pick if you're looking for a nice everyday cushioned running shoe.
So one of my choices is the Under Armour Velociti Wind 2.0. Now this shoe may never have made the big time like some other popular daily trainers, but as a fan of firmer, lower stack, more direct shoes that encourage a faster foot turnover, I always had a big soft spot for the Under Armour Velociti Wind 2. I like the easy fit, I like these warp uppers, the overall kind of more traditional design of the heels and tongues was great too. At 241 grams or 8.5 ounces, they were really quite light and racy as well. This was one of the early shoes of Under Armour's shoes to use the flow foam cushioning system, where you had this kind of one single kind of piece outsole for the cushion and the durability and traction without the need for outsole rubber. I found the direct ground feel and the lightness on the foot encouraged that fast foot turnover, and that made for a really nice natural run. These were good for intervals, they were good for shorter, faster runs, but you could get away with some longer miles too. Now in a world of soft, springy Superfoam shoes, they harked back a little bit to a more traditional ride. Now some of you might even remember when it was possible that you could actually run a marathon PB in a firmer EVA foam shoe. I do, and that's some of the feel that they gave you. Now the Velociti Wind 3 has more flow foam underfoot with 2 mils in the forefoot and a 4 mil extras in the heel. And that's added a bit of weight and heft to this shoe. It's also slightly softer and it's shaped differently from the original Wind 2. And for me that's taken away some of the dynamism of the original shoe, which felt lighter, more snappy and more responsive. Yes, the V2 was firmer, but in my mind that's really what set it apart. And arguably that firm responsiveness was what it was really good for. It was one of those shoes that felt a little bit more traditional, something you could actually run fast in. It felt light and precise and good for doing faster sessions. If anything, the V3 has lost its edge for me. It's a bit more confused now, and I definitely preferred the lighter, firmer V2.
So my old shoe that I still think is a great shoe and you can still buy is this. This is the HOKA Rocket X. Now, as far as I can see, you cannot buy it directly from HOKA's website, but I've seen plenty of retailers, particularly in the UK, where you can still get this shoe and it sits below £100. I've seen it sit at kind of £70. And for me, that is a still really good price for what I consider a very good shoe. And it's a shoe that still sticks in kind of my rotation as well. I would happily still use this for kind of shorter, sharper sessions. I've done my kind of first sub 40 10k in this shoe. I think, you know, if you can get the fit to work for you, it is a little bit on the narrow side. I think what you get in return is a shoe that has a great rocker in it. There's pop in that midsole as well too. It's totally different to what we've got on the Rocket X2 now, which is, you know, HOKA has kind of, you know, gone different with the upper, with the midsole. There's more rubber on the outside as well to give it more durability than the shoes are, and that's a shoe to give you the scope to go longer distance in a more comfortable manner. The HOKA Rocket X is definitely for those shorter distances. As I said, speed work, I think you can race in it. if you can get the fit to work for you, you can pick it up for less than £100. I still think this is a great shoe. The Rocket X2 feels a little bit expensive for you. As I said, it's a totally different shoe, but you want something that gives you that kind of nice, fast feeling. I still think this is a good shoe, and under £100, that is a very good deal for a shoe that I've had a lot of good times in and continue to use as well.
Hi runners, I'm Laura and I am still running in the HOKA Tecton X original. This is 18 months old now. I've been running in it for 18 months and I still regularly run in it, despite also having the next edition. I've had this since the summer. Both, you can see, have had lots of miles in them, been through lots of mud. This one actually I ran cross country in the other day and went through a river crossing we had to go through, so got thoroughly soaked. Took the inner out, dried out nice and well, and I'll be running cross country in it again tomorrow. That's generally how I decide between the two now, because there's not a huge difference in the bottom of the shoe. Most of the changes they made for that second edition were in the upper, so I mainly have relegated the first one to when I know it's going to be a lot muddier, when it's going to get muddier, when it's going to get wetter, because they're the older ones. So not too muddy, but you know, I'm not shy of mud. I don't really. They're trail shoes, they're meant to go out in all conditions, aren't they? But these ones I will pick for going when I know it's going to be particularly bad conditions. But because of that river crossing, you can see it doesn't actually look that bad. It got a nice wash off in that river. So this one is now, you can get it on HOKA's own websites, on lots of other places, but you can get it now for £104.99 if you happen to be one of the sizes that they've got quite a few sizes, but obviously not as much availability as newer shoes. But yeah, £104.99. It was £175 when it was full price. The newer one came in, they priced it £10 more, so this is £185. So you're saving yourself 80 quid there to go for the older one. So the main differences were in the upper, so it makes the upper a little bit stiffer. It's supposed to repel water a bit better, but I still wouldn't have done well in that river crossing. It makes it a bit stiffer in the upper, so that's really your main difference. But everything underneath the hood is pretty similar. It feels very similar underfoot. So I recommend both shoes, but this one, if you wanted to save some money, go for it.
So there you have it. Those are our quick picks of some of the past gen shoes that we still think are great, have good potential. They're all still on sale somewhere, so you can still get them now if you fancy trying them. As ever, thanks for watching. We hope you've enjoyed the vid. Share it with the fellow runners if you did. Maybe hit subscribe if you're not already. In the meantime, we'd love to hear which shoes you think were better in the previous incarnation. Tell us in the comments below. If you're after new shoes, why not check out our pick of the best shoes from 2023. There's a video appearing on the channel just about now. Otherwise, thanks for giving us your time as ever, and happy running, everyone.